fans, you might want to brace yourself. Saw X brought the franchise back from the dead with the highest reviews since the original. It was brutal, it was emotional, it had brain surgery traps, and it ended with a twist that had fans screaming, "Mark Hoffman is back." Naturally, Saw 11 was confirmed, the hype was real, and then it all went to hell. We're talking delays, cancellation rumours, studio silence, and then out of nowhere, Billy the Puppet shows up on social media like the game is never over. So what the hell is going on with Saw 11? Who's involved? Is it dead? Is it coming back? We're breaking down every update, rumour and backroom twist in this new episode of First Slash Saw 11. After Saw X crushed expectations in late 2023, Lionsgate wasted no time announcing Saw 11. The sequel was initially set for release Halloween 2024, with writers Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, the duo behind Jigsaw, Spiral and Saw X, returning. But in early 2024, silence. Then the rumours hit. According to Variety, insiders claimed Saw 11 was quietly pulled from Lionsgate's release calendar. There was no director attached, production hadn't started. Worse, whispers suggested the franchise might leave Lionsgate entirely. Some speculated Saw would need a new studio just to survive. Fans braced for the unthinkable. Saw was over. And then, Billy dropped a bomb. The game is never over. The fandom lost it. Days later, producer Oren Cools confirmed the script is done. The studio just hasn't greenlit filming yet. So where does that leave us? Right now, Saw 11 is very much in development, but it's stalled in a kind of production purgatory. The writers are ready, the producers are eager, but the budget, casting and schedule? All TBD. So what's next? Could it be a prequel again, a sequel to Saw 10, or a total reboot with a new studio? Whatever happens, you know we here at OH have got theories, traps, and wild predictions. So let's dive into what will the next Saw movie could look like. Here are some potential directions the franchise could go.
Oh look, the self-proclaimed pitchmaster wants to tell me how to play my game. Okay, I'll play. Here's a pitch. What if we reveal I never actually died? That's right, a retcon. I'm back from the dead, bitches.
Nah, I can't see that working really, no.
Well, fuck.
Main timeline continuation. If they were to go this route, Saw 11 would probably follow Saw 10. Now, if you've not been paying attention, not been keeping up with the Saw franchise, the most recent film, Saw 10 by X, was not a follow-on from Saw 7, Jigsaw or even Spiral, but set between the events of Saw 1 and 2. So it's hard to say if Saw 11 would be a direct sequel to Saw 10, or if it would go back to progressing the series chronologically. If we're going with another prequel, the next movie would probably be set after the events of Saw 10. But still before Saw 3, if you know you know. Saw 10 ended with a post-credit scene featuring the return of Mark Hoffman. This probably means the next movie will have Hoffman in a major role, further exploring the relationship between him and Amanda. Tensions that were previously only shown in flashbacks, but what about the actual plot of the movie? Taking things to the real world for a minute, as we all know, a few months ago, Brian Thompson, the CEO of the health insurance company United Health, was shot. The perpetrator? Someone who was affected by the policies he oversaw. The murder of a health insurance CEO. Where have I seen that before? Yes, as some of you may remember, Saw 6 already tackled the subject of the healthcare industry, making the CEO of the company, John Kramer, insured with the main protagonist of the movie, getting him to go through a series of morality testing traps, forcing him to make decisions he should be used to as someone in his position, choosing who lives and who dies, but coming face to face with the victims this time. As you might predict, it wasn't as easy, even making different decisions than he would have if he was sat behind his desk. The quote from the producers directly addresses this. The brief tease we did get says it taps into the same themes of Saw 6, where you're a citizen, you feel angry and frustrated with something, you feel like you can't do anything, and John Kramer's gonna do it.
Right now, you're feeling helpless.
I doubt they'll actually mention the murder of Brian Thompson in the movie, but the growing public awareness of healthcare companies' awful behaviour will probably play into the movie's plot. To make it different though, he survives his ordeal and gets out, returning to his place at the company, and announces they will be changing how they operate, putting human life over profit and making sure people don't die because they can't afford their insurance, being a mirror of the sixth film, where the CEO is able to be free and make a better future. A hopeful ending refreshing for the Saw series. Weirdly enough, the writer of Saw 11, Patrick Melton, actually went to college with Brian Thompson. So, there's your oddly horrific connection. The message from the creators, the events of last year, all set the stage for the most political Saw movie ever. If however they choose to continue the series, i.e. after the events of 7, what would that movie look like? The Saw Hunger Games. In this era of franchises bringing back beloved characters for new movies, even horror movies do this, with the two most recent Scream movies being an example. Saw might want to do the same. Who do we have to choose from? The characters left alive that are likely to be considered for a comeback are Lawrence Gordon, Mark Hoffman. We would say he's dead, but we all know that that bathroom rarely means death. Eric Matthews' son, Bobby Dargan, Malik Scott, Britt Stevenson, Simone Bethson, Brad and Ryan, Logan Nelson, Eleanor Bonneville, and Zeke Banks. To raise the stakes, they have all been thrown into one of Jigsaw's terrifying traps. These characters must redo old traps from across the series, like a Hunger Games thing where previous victims are put back in. This is where you could do a crossover of sorts and bring in the characters from the original 7 films, Jigsaw and Spiral. But because John Kramer is still dead, we don't know who has actually orchestrated this game, and as a few of them have been Jigsaw apprentices, they are constantly on edge, trying to figure out who it is while convincing the others it's not them. Maybe the big twist is it was all of Jigsaw's former apprentices, showing what happens when they all team up. One thing's for sure, the results would be deadlier than ever. A reboot. Or let's say Saw is sold by Lionsgate. With a new studio in charge of the Saw franchise, all bets are off. They would likely want to start fresh. New ideas. Spin-offs like Spiral and Jigsaw were afraid to fully disconnect themselves from the previous film, often feeling like they were in their shadow. But new films wouldn't have that problem. One big change would be in the whole series. In the Saw 3, pretty early in the timeline now, John died, and the other Saw films stuck to it and kept him dead, meaning more and more of the subsequent films had to be taken up with flashbacks to when he was still alive. But a full reboot would allow them to keep the real Jigsaw killer alive for more films, not having to explain away the actions of the killer as a new apprentice every movie. Our first idea for a rebooted Saw is one many of you probably have yourselves. Just like Scream, could Saw get more digital and tech focused? Yes, AI. Since every series is going AI, how about a futuristic Saw where the government now uses artificial intelligence to carry out justice? But the algorithm they use is based on John Kramer's philosophy. Anyone seen breaking the law or even acting in an immoral way wakes up in a trap with relevance to their misdeed. The reason they ended up there. If this is the future, we could delve into other topics that may dominate society. One of the victims, the head of a company that sells faulty prosthetics, must remove his own limbs and use the ones he sells to unwitting people to progress through the test. Can he survive after going through what he puts others through? Saw versus the establishment. Saw movies have always had an element of politics. But again, with a new studio, could they get more political? Just like the healthcare industry, I think another target could be the government. The killer, taking issue with the recent stripping away of reproductive rights in the US, put some of the lawmakers that made it happen into traps. Maybe even traps reminiscent of that device that simulates childbirth. The movie escalates when they kidnap a corrupt Supreme Court judge. The movies have stuck to pretty low profile victims before. It would be kind of thrilling to see such a high ranking official in that situation. And with it being a Supreme Court judge, I mean the trap involving balancing out the scales of justice writes itself. Livestream torture. Jigsaw, or whichever apprentice is carrying out the murders of the movie targets a young internet personality who goes around pranking people, but is really a menace to the public with no regard for safety or how their actions affect others. He must go through a series of traps testing his kindness and goodwill. Jigsaw continuously talks to him throughout the movie, telling him to perform for his fans. He eventually needs to give parts of himself as a true test of selflessness, maybe even a kind of jokey trap where he must strike a pose while being tortured. A real thirst trap? I don't know. Is that too much? So, what's next for Saw 11? Will Hoffman rise again? Will we get AI traps, Supreme Court justice torture devices, or a Hunger Games for horror freaks? One thing's for sure, the game is far from over. Drop your wildest Saw theories in the comments. Who do you want back? What kind of trap would you survive? And hey, don't be shy, hit that sub button like your life depends on it, because on Oddly Horrific, we don't just watch horror, we play the game. See you next time, if you make it.